I came to Aurora as a series from my family. My sister had just graduated in 1989. Her name is Susan Rantisi. And my father graduated from Aurora in 1963. And the interesting story is how we all came to Aurora. I'm Palestinian, I'm not American, and I think maybe one of the few international students at that time, at least when I came, and probably when my father came. Yeah. The reason I came and my sister was because of my father's experience there and the connections he made at Aurora. And as Palestinians, for us, still now, our situation, we don't have a state, we don't have sovereignty, and for many Palestinians the only thing that they have is to build themselves their education, to invest in themselves. And this was something that was we were brought up to work on. And for my father, he was a refugee in 1948, and when he was 11 years old he became a refugee, and they lost their home, their property, everything. He lived with his family in a tent for about 3 years, and during that time he didn't go back to school because he had to help care for the family and sell things in the street and so on. And after 3 years, an American pastor from the Presbyterian Church came to the town where my father was a refugee, in Ramallah, where I grew up, and he told my grandmother that he would help one of her sons go back to school. And this pastor, his name is Bob Grupp. And Bob Grupp had a huge impact on my father's life, that my father was able to finish high school, and then he went on to seminary. By the time he was done with seminary, Bob Grupp came back to the U.S. He was assigned to the Presbyterian Church in Aurora. And he told my father, "Why don't you come here? You help me in the church and you continue your education." The relationship he had with his roommates and his friends were lifelong friendships, and that I maintain to this day. My father passed away about 11 years ago, but I have very strong friendships with his old roommates from Aurora. And so the connection there is very strong. And my father was able to get a degree in education and sociology and go back home and worked in education, and was able to help many other children get their education as well. So that was sort of the focus of his life. But the impact of that and the opportunity that was given to him to get an education gave the opportunity for my sister and myself. And I think the role that Aurora and Aurora University played in all of this has been a huge impact that it's hard to even just pinpoint in one way or other. The last year and a half of my high school was when the first Intifada took place, and all educational institutions, including my high school, were closed. My mother's English, so my uncle who lived in England encouraged me to go to England and finish my high school there. So I was in England for a year and a half, and then I came to Aurora. Coming to Aurora for college was the first time I lived in the U.S. And having now lived in the U.S. a very long time, since that, I know how important those years were, because it was such a friendly environment and a wonderful place that really that sort of welcomed me into the community. It was also a small community. I think at that time 2,000 students. I was one of 2 international students at the time. So I think on one side, it was really good for me because it brought me straight into sort of American life in the Midwest and so on. But also being one of very few international students, it was an opportunity for me to talk about my experiences and to break stereotypes, I think, of what people had about Palestinians. So in 1993, when I graduated, Aurora University also honored my father with a doctorate degree, an honorary doctorate for his life accomplishments. And it was really wonderful to have him be part of the graduation and to be honored this way. I think Aurora recognized his contribution to his community and his leadership in very difficult circumstances, and they wanted to honor him. And so he came to the graduation, and Ken Mull read the citation for the honor. And my father brought with him a gift that he gave to Aurora University it was an olive wood carved eagle. I think I look back at the time I had in Aurora and the kindness that people, how kind people were to me when I just came in to a new country, to a new place. And I try and remember that for newcomers who come and I meet, and try and emulate that as much as I can. I also value so much the opportunity for education, the opportunity that was given my family, the opportunity that I had, that I can't take that for granted. And if I can participate in opening up opportunities for others to get an education, to be involved in academic life in one way or other, it's the least that I can do. And I think these are just some of the lessons that I took with me.